All right. Hello, everybody. Hopefully, people are getting into the conference. We're going to wait just about 60 seconds to let everybody come in, and then we'll get things started. With these, I always feel bad because like my backgrounds are like not on par with like everybody else.
Hey
I got to
man,
step up my game.
I'm in a hotel room in Brooklyn, so
Oh, really?
yeah, yeah,
So fancy background.
it's a cool place. Cool.
Yeah. Well, when'd you get there?
Yesterday,
Okay.
pretty surreal actually.
Yeah.
Everyone's taking it very seriously here.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, it's. I wish that everyone around the country could see how they're treating
Yeah.
here. Yeah,
Yeah.
Hang on a second, guys.
no problem. Y'all, man, good to see you.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, yeah. What are you working on these days?
Where to begin? No, we're working on Malomo. So we've got an awesome kind of shipment tracking platform, helping brands connect with consumers. So I'll
Awesome.
be talking about that a little bit later today.
Is that full speed? Like that's it? That's what you're.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yep. Yeah. It's been good. We've got about 10 people on the team today and working with some cool brands. So it's been really fun.
Nice.
Who introduced us?
It was
Was it Kate McAndrew?
was it who?
Kate McAndrew?
No, it was I'm forgetting it was a fund who's got who was it? I'll try to look it up real quick. As soon as I pull up the name, it'll all come flooding back. Shoot. Take a second. Well, how about we get started? If you guys are ready, we can kind of kick things off. So,
Yeah.
really excited for everyone to be here today. We are kicking off Retention Chronicles. So I'm Yao Enning. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Malomo. We've got a really jam-packed day, 9 sessions with one focus: how to drive retention in your e-com business. And so throughout the day, we'll be dropping some stuff on Twitter using the hashtag Retention Chronicles. So feel free to follow along there. And if you have questions or comments, yeah, please drop them into that using that hashtag. So we're going to kick off the day with 2 absolute legends. They probably need no introduction. We're really excited for them to kind of kick off the conference with some high energy. I'm introducing Val and Webb. They're going to be talking about how to win the retention game. And so Val and Webb, feel free to take it away.
I just like to start before I kick it off to Val because I would say she's the leader of this craft. We both have excellent glasses.
And 3-letter names.
Yes.
Important. And yeah, so
yeah, great choice.
3-letter names. Although we have to pay a lot of money to get a Hey email address with our 3-letter names.
Very true.
So, there are downsides, I suppose. Yeah, so let's put my phone on airplane mode. Let's talk about retention. So I'm going to share my screen if I can do it right. It's always a crapshoot. You guys see this?
Well done.
Yes.
Yeah,
Nice.
cool. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to win at the retention game. And there's 3 things that you can do to totally kill at retention. The thing is that most people don't do these things. Most people probably won't. You'll probably watch this and not do any of these things because they're not quick wins. They're not massively scalable, and they're not something that you can really you can put some numbers to it, but it's not something that you can measure in a quantitative way. And so a lot of brands don't want to do that, whether it's because they're bored or their funders, their VCs don't want things like that done because you can't measure it. You can measure it, you can. But the thing is that most of these things don't get done. So we're going to talk for you for the next 28 minutes about a bunch of stuff you're not going to do. So, and if you are going to do it, tell us, because we'd love to know. My kids are quiet until I start recording something, and then they are screaming for me. So we're just going to listen to that in the background. So there are 3 things that are absolutely certain in this life: death, taxes, and there's no right answer to any of this. So sales, marketing, it's different for every brand. If you try to copy exactly what another brand is doing, it might not work for you, but you have to test it. You have to test it. So, and I think that I'm an email marketer. I think testing is everything, and that you have to try, because if you don't try, you don't know. So it is 5 times cheaper to keep a customer than to get a new one. And if you have any kind of recurring revenue model in your business, you need to know that it is so much easier to keep an existing customer than to go out and acquire a new one, especially right now. It's real hard to acquire new customers right now. And the internet is a super busy place. People get distracted all the time at all points in their buying cycle. So that new customer is hard to convert. And we see that left and right. And I know personally, I'll have a tab open on my browser and be halfway through a checkout, and the kid starts screaming, or something happens that I need to hop on. I need to hop on a webinar like this, and I forget. And I don't know about you guys, but that definitely happens to me a lot, and I guarantee it's happening to your customers. So the thing that we have to remember is that our customers are humans, and humans are infallible. So we can do some things to fix that, though. The first thing is to know your churn rate. If you're here, you probably know what your churn rate is. If you don't, your churn rate is the number of people who have left your subscriptions or your monthly recurring model. They're the number of customers that you've lost in a time period divided by your total number of customers. So that's your churn rate. You can measure it monthly, you can measure it in annual, you can measure it quarterly. However your subscriptions are set up is probably the best way to measure it.
Val, what's a good churn rate for us?
Yeah. So you hear great churn rates of like 9 to kind of under 10%, right? Is a really good churn rate. I've heard some amazing churn rates like 4 or 5%, but I don't want people to feel like if they're up in that, 20 to 30% that they're screwed, failure. Right? Yeah, you're not a failure, right? Like, first of all, that's 70 to 80% of customers that you're keeping. So you have to think, you can think about the flip side of your churn rate. And that's something that I really want people to celebrate too, is the people that you are retaining. What are you doing with them? And keep doing more of that.
Sure.
Yeah. But I think I don't know, what do you see, Webb? Like what's, when you look at retention?
I'll give you a quick anecdote. That's essentially the basis of my company. We're a subscription business. And so I take churn very seriously, and a lot of the mechanisms that I have built into 2PM is designed to help reduce churn as much as possible. My churn today was 4.17%. And that actually scares me because it's usually in the 3s, which means something went wrong. And for me, that one thing that went wrong was I wrote something last week that a lot of folks probably didn't agree with because it was outside of the scope of traditional retail and e-commerce, but I felt it was important to publish. So that usually elicits some pushback, which accounts for the bump. I would say that at the peak of the COVID scare in Ohio, at least, I probably experienced up to 9% churn.
Yeah.
So I had to really work to stabilize that and to get sort of my groove back. And
so it kind of tripled.
It tripled overnight.
Yeah.
When people started cutting a lot of subscriptions because they were afraid that they were going to lose their jobs, blah, 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 blah. So I take it very seriously, and I just work to add value. I work to develop one-on-one communications with the people that are subscribers, meaning like all you have to do to reach me is reply to the email. And
That's true.
as long as it's like a amicable, even if they disagree, like as long as it's an amicable email, I'll usually respond as quickly as I can. Yeah, I'm really interested in hearing what your mechanisms are, because I'm in the thick of it and I'm trying to optimize for, minimal churn.
Right. That's why we're all here, right? Like we're all here to learn from each other. And, that tripling of churn with COVID, like I always, especially right now, tell people take out those extreme moments. So, if you're looking at your churn numbers, maybe don't look at like March, April, as far as indicators of your standard churn. But kind of go back in January, February, and then maybe even looking at now, what your regular churn numbers are and so that annual churn is going to look really different this year. But look on a monthly basis at earlier in the year, and then things are starting to level out now. Customers are more willing to give brands a try and to come back to subscriptions that they left. So I think that that's really important too. Something that we aren't going to talk about today is reaching out to people who have canceled and just talking to them. But we'll kind of talk about that actually. So there's, we talked about there's 3 things, right? So thing number 1 is you could do better support, but you probably won't. Better support is actually thinking about not just support, but success. So when you have whether your product is you and one other person running it, or you have a large, team that helps manage incoming inquiries and customer support tickets for the whole ticketing system, it's really important that you remember that there are human beings on the other side of these tickets. They're not just tickets. They're not just, words written on a screen. Those words were written by a person. And it's hard for them to remember that there's a person receiving them. So it's like our job as the brand owners to, even if we're receiving words that it's like not kind words, not something that's they're thinking a person is going to read. It's our job to, be the example, right? To show them the way that they can be treated so that maybe they turn around and treat us the same way. Of course, we don't want to work with abusive customers, but when it's easy to forget that there is a person on the other side of the computer screen when you're writing, and we all know that from being on the internet this long now. So the thing about better support is that it's not just remembering that they're human, but it's about thinking through the entire chain of that ticket. And that chain begins before the ticket is written and long after the ticket is sent in. So let's say a customer writes in and says like, hey, I love these workout pants. I've been dying for a pair in red. I see you guys have them in blue and black and green. Are you going to do a red? And your support person says, hey, appreciate that. We don't have a plan for red right now. This is what we have. And so hopefully you'll like one of those colors and choose something else. But keep an eye out. It's typically the response, right? Like keep an eye out, watch your inbox, and we'll let you know as soon as new colors launch. And that's tricky. What
would you have done?
Yeah, it's tricky because you want to acknowledge what they've asked for, but I think that it's about actually the after, right? So let's say, the response initially can be like, hey, we hear you. Maybe you have been asked for a new color multiple times. Like, hey, we've heard that request a lot. And actually I'm going to put your request in the, in our system, whether it's, how we use a Trello board or however we keep these kinds of requests. We're going to tally up those requests, and, if we hear enough demand for red, we're going to go for red. Like that's the way we want to serve you guys. If that's the way that you operate, great. I think that the most important thing though, is that taking that request and tagging it somehow, in whatever system you're using for tickets, whether it's like just a Gmail inbox or some kind of help scout or something like that, give it a tag of, product request, red pants. And then when you launch that red line, send an email to those people who specifically requested that item, maybe even give them like first dibs at it. And it's kind of one of those like, hey, back in stock reminder emails, but it's a direct message from a customer support person to the person who requested this item to let them know like, hey, we heard your request. You amongst a bunch of other people sent this request in, and we want you to know that it exists now, and we're giving you first dibs. We're setting it live tomorrow morning, but we wanted to let you know tonight. Something along those lines, right? Where we can make people feel seen and heard. That's all human beings want, right?
Absolutely.
So I think it's really important to go beyond that traditional support request. We worry about like, let's get through the requests. Let's make sure everybody gets a response, whether it's Facebook Messenger or replies to emails. And I know that support online and phone support is bogged down in incredible ways right now. And so the focus is on let's get through the queue. But if we can get through the queue in a mindful way, that we can then use all of that feedback and all of those requests to drive our brand, then we can not only retain customers long-term, we can even win back customers who maybe they didn't make a purchase at all because you didn't have the red line and that's what they want. And so when you then email them directly to say, hey, 2 months ago, you asked for this red line, it's available now. That's a huge win because they feel like they matter, that their opinion matters.
Yeah,
and the likelihood of them buying just goes way up.
That's a really valid point. What are any other examples of programs that you could put in place where the outcome is the customer feels listened to?
Yeah. So listen, I think like all human beings want is to feel seen and heard. And if you can do that across your entire brand, then you're winning. That's how you win retention, is to help people feel like they matter. We stick around as customers to the big box stores and Amazon and all those others because of convenience, because of commodity of the market. But it doesn't make you feel like you matter, right? Amazon does. I don't matter as an individual, right, to Amazon, but I do matter as an individual to some smaller brands that I shop with, and I see it in those, even just having that let me know when it's restocked email. I see a lot of sites that don't even offer that option of the email notification when a product is restocked. Get that up and running. Let people enter their interest, because it not only gives them the opportunity to hear from you when something is restocked, but it also tells you, hey, we've got a ton of signups for this restock. Let's focus on this restock over this other product. So it saves you time and money on the brand side.
Yeah, I would also say, as it relates to Amazon, I think whenever you look at a company like that at scale, it's important to consider what they're doing at scale to try to emulate those same sort of feelings that we could, move forward with as small businesses. Here's an example. I do feel cared for by Amazon. And I'll give a prime example. I probably use Prime Now 3 times a week.
Oh yeah.
Because when I'm in Columbus, I work from home and I rarely want to go to the store in the middle of the day. And I eat a lot of snacks. Val, I eat a lot of snacks. So that's my primary source. Yep. The one thing I love about Amazon Prime Now is that it knows everything that I want to buy before I buy it. And they make it very easy for me to mindlessly click like 15 buttons for 15 products and to have it at my door within the hour and a half. That's my love language. So I'm stuck. I'm there for life.
Yeah.
I think that's just an important example of how you can mechanize that at scale. Obviously, Amazon has a tremendous number of flaws, but for the big companies out there, I do think that at least a derivative of it is doable.
Yep. And it is looking at how these larger companies have created scale in these, ways to make people feel seen and heard. And how do we do it at our smaller level? And can we, because we don't have billions of customers, can
Sure.
we do it in a different way? Can we do it in a more personal one-to-one way?
100%.
Yeah. Okay, so the second thing, oh, there we go. You could talk to your customers, like actually talk to them one-to-one. But most people don't. And I know that because I get hired to do it for brands. And I get hired and I ask them if they've done customer interviews, and they say, oh yeah, we talk to our customers all the time. But what they're talking about is the product. In this image here is a screenshot from a Slack community of operators. And we were talking about having one-to-one conversations with customers and how impactful it is, and the types of feedback that you get on not only the brand, but some of the ways that they talk about the problem that they're facing, the reason why they made a purchase from you. And this conversation references jobs to be done, which is a methodology for interviewing. Have you ever dove into jobs, Web?
Jobs
to be done?
Oh, I haven't, no.
Yeah, so the idea here is like your customers hire your brand to do a particular job. And it's typically not the job that you think that you're marketing, right? So let's take those red workout pants. You buy workout pants not to have pants to wear when you work out, though that's like obviously a portion of it. But you buy workout pants, they're like an aspirational purchase. It's the job is to look like an athlete when you don't feel like one. The job is to help you feel supported when you're out on a run and you can go an extra mile. The job is to wick away sweat so that when you are in that last 10 minutes of your workout, you aren't overheated. There's any number of jobs depending on what kind of product it is and who the customer is, but you don't know those words until you talk to your customers. So that's the idea behind jobs. And there's a couple of questions I want to share that I use to do these interviews.
Okay.
The interviews are a lot more about your customers than about your product, and they involve a lot of listening. So there are a few questions I use, but I want to give the caveat that I do a lot of listening when I do these interviews. So the first one, first you want to start talking about them, because everybody likes to talk about themselves and we're all really good at it. These are questions we know the answers to. So one question you can ask them is, how would they describe how this problem, how would you describe how, working out fits into your life, shows up in your life, fits in, you can change those words for your brand. So get them to talk about the topic at hand, the topic that your product solves for, the problem that your product solves for. Ask them what they're passionate about. Talk to them about their life. They'll tell you. And then talk to them about that biggest thing that keeps them awake at night. And these two questions may have nothing to do with your product, but it gives you insights into who your customers are, the way that they think, and the kind of words that they use to describe their lives. And those words are incredibly powerful. These questions that I'm sharing with you give me that voice of customer data that I need to be a really powerful email marketer. And my clients use these words all over their website, all over their marketing copy, in their product descriptions, everywhere. So these are really valuable questions to be asking. And I do these, by the way, in just like this, like a Zoom meeting, and I get a recording, a transcription, so that I can have the words exactly written out. You also want to talk about your product line. So you can ask them what was happening in their world that led them to buying your product if they've made a purchase already. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they're just on your email list. Like they came to your website, they wanted that 20% off coupon and they joined your email list. Like what brought them to your website in the first place? You want to talk about that. And then what happened after they purchased that made them feel like they made a good decision? If they say nothing, didn't really know until I got it and tried it on or used it. That's an indicator that there's some opportunity for messaging in between the purchase and the product delivery. And then what were you skeptical or anxious about when you made this purchase? And then if you have a subscription and they're someone who has turned out, you might ask them, is that skepticism or anxiety the reason that you eventually no longer used our product, that you stopped subscribing? Are there other questions that come to mind as far as like digging in a bit with customers, doing these one-to-one type interviews? Have you ever done these, Webb?
I haven't done one-to-one interviews, but I do have a questionnaire. People tend to email me to let me know that they're canceling their subscription, or they'll note it privately. Mm-hmm. And the question the answer that I hear typically is, this is great information, great content, but I don't have the time to keep up with everything. Yeah. I don't agree with that, and so I say nothing. Just because my personal philosophy is to focus on the customers that remain and give them all of my energy, all of the juice that I have.
Sure.
Instead of trying to, I don't think that it's not as easy for the product that I sell to win back customers. That's just my personal belief, because the reasoning typically is I don't have the bandwidth to process this much information, even though I find this information to be valuable. And I just try not to make those conversations personal ones.
Yeah.
Because my direct answer would be, you do have the time, you just need to make it because it's very important to your business. You just don't see that yet.
Yeah. So time and money are like number one reasons that people cancel. And that's where I love to dig in, because you are spending your time and your money on other things. So what are those other things that you're doing with your time and your money that are more important in your mind than this product? Whether it's your subscription or, spending money on, a different food product than the subscription soup service that we have, there's all kinds of options that fill in there. But I think that time and money are surface answers, and they're worth digging in on with a few people. You don't have to do it with everybody, but I think it helps your messaging on the front end to be able to catch people before they turn out. When people, in your case, if people stop opening emails after, if they're not opening 4 or 5 emails in a row, that might be an indicator they're going to churn.
Sure.
So then, doing some kind of catching them before they fall.
Preemptive work. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. There's a question from Ryan for you, Val. I'm going to just read the question because you're the star here. Val, I'm tuning in a little bit late here, so maybe you've covered this already, but what's the best way to actually do these one-to-one interviews? Is there a software to help manage the setup of these conversations?
Yeah.
You just send customers unsolicited email requests. Do you offer them rewards for participating?
So I always offer an incentive because you're asking them for their time. And I know I just hate it on Amazon, but I do an Amazon gift card because it's universal. Don't incentivize around your product is the only thing. So if you want to figure out something else to do, an indie bookstore or something like that, that's great. But don't incentivize around your product, because then it looks like you're just trying to get a customer back. I said you can set them up a lot of different ways. I do them over Zoom. I hit record.
Like face-to-face.
You can do face-to-face, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You ever run out of energy? You seem like a really energetic person. I couldn't do what you're doing right now.
I'm not. I'm an introvert. I'm a full-on introvert. I do all of my customer interviews in batches. So I'll do like 4 or 5 in a row and on one day, and then I don't do any for the rest of the week.
Okay.
So you have to kind of time block.
So basically what you're saying is, if you can execute these strategies, everyone else should be able to as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I have 2 kids home with me full time. They're little too. They need lots of attention. I'm an introvert, and I don't really like talking to people, but I talk to people all day.
I'm very similar. I don't like people.
Yeah.
I'm sort of joking, but I do agree that I have a hard time having conversations all day, every day, especially given the questions that I get on Twitter quite a bit. So yeah, I'm always looking for ways to tweak those strategies so that I could be more honest, forthcoming, and useful to the customers that I already have. I think you provided some really interesting points.
Cool. Yeah, the technology side is like whatever you want to use. I use Zoom, and then I record it and get a transcript from, I use Rev, but you can use any transcript service.
So we have a 2-minute warning from Eddie. Are there any questions you have for me, like anything practical that we could add for the audience before we wrap this up?
So one more thing that I would love your take on, and this is the third thing that you can do, that's the hardest, is to build a proper referral program. Most people don't. I feel like I see so much of the give 20, get 20, and that's a pop-up that shows up on the post-purchase page, like before they've even received your product. And I'll say that if you want to see a really good referral program in action, join the email list for Bloom, BLUME here on this screen. They have an incredible referral program. And like I said at the beginning, not everything works for everybody, but it's worth looking at and seeing how involved it is and how in depth they go in order to help their customers be their marketers for them.
Yeah, I would also add Morning Brew does a wonderful job. I mean, it's such an incredible, like it's a proprietary referral system. They clearly have a passionate audience. They featured one of my articles last week.
Yeah, they did.
And just blew up my site. Just absolutely blew up my site. So the fact that they not only have volume as far as their email list is concerned, but they have actual engagement is nuts. And I would give a lot of credit to them for their referral system.
There's a really good article breaking down how their referral system works. I think it's a Medium article. You can probably Google some combination of like Medium. What is it?
I don't know. I'll find the article. I've tried to license their software and they've said no. So I'll keep trying.
I have a keychain and a wine glass.
Look at you.
From them. So the one thing that I want to wrap up with, though, is that this isn't just theory. This is stuff that real brands are doing all the time. They're killing it at customer retention, and you can do it too. So Einstein said that everything in life should be as simple as possible, but not simpler, and that 100% applies to retention. I like to liken us with Einstein personally.
We're so smart.
You know, as the last final note. So a couple things. Join 2PML, best investment. And then I'm running an incubator for brand operators who want to do better emails. So you can email me for details on that. We're kicking off in mid-July.
Any other questions, just reach out to us. Val, you can go ahead and spit your Twitter handle. Mine is just Web, W-E-B. I'll try to get to them today.
Yeah, they're on the bottom of the screen. I think I got them on most slides. I might have screwed up some, but it's at Love Val Geisler, at Web for both of us. Tweet us. Talk to you later.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a ton, guys.
Good job, y'all. Yeah, for sure.